Hi, I'm Doug Upstone, and I'm here to talk National League win totals with my good pal, Ross Benjamin. We're going to attack what's going to happen this upcoming season in the National League and see what teams you should be looking at in terms of the win totals to go over or under. Ross, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, Doug. I'm looking forward to talking some baseball with you, and I hope all is well on your end.
Oh, as always, Ross, you know it is. So, hey, let's jump right in. Overs in the National League, what's got your attention?
Well, Doug, I like the Miami Marlins over 81.5 wins. Again, I think that's quite obvious. If you watched the video that we did on our National League futures odds, I love this team to go over that total of 81.5. I mean, if I like them as a sleeper in the National League, you would have to think that I like them to at least have a winning season, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I like the Marlins over 81.5. I believe that they have a vastly underrated batting order. I like Giancarlo Stanton as a possible MVP this season in the National League. Some pretty good pickups in the order, too, with D. Gordon now at the top of that lineup. Michael Morse, if he could stay healthy, which he's had a problem doing in recent years, this guy could contribute 30-plus home runs. Also, again, if you watched our NL Futures odds video, you know that I like the Washington Nationals. You know, Doug, I hate going over a total this high of 94.5, but I thoroughly believe this team has very few, if any, holes in their lineup, and their pitching staff, starting rotation, best in all of baseball, solid bullpen. I see this team winning 100 games or more, or at least teetering around that win number. I'm going to make a small wager on the Nationals to go over 94.5, and I also like the Milwaukee Brewers over 78.5, Doug. I think they're a sleeper to win the NL Central. Very strong lineup. The pitching staff will be the big concern. Then again, we're only asking them to win 79 games if they stay healthy. They're going to that lineup, especially Ryan Braun, Carlos Gonzalez. I think that this team will easily surpass that number.
Okay, Ross, now on those picks, I totally agree with you on Washington. And I think a big help is how far Atlanta has fallen. Okay, so I think that's going to be a big plus. I'm not sold on Milwaukee, and one of the reasons is, you know, their corner infielders last year were not strong, and I don't think they've really have solved that problem this year. So I'm not crazy about them. Miami, I get all your points. I certainly don't disagree. I'm just not completely on board, and I will definitely take a wait and see stance. And you know what? By and large, Ross, I hope you're right. That's what's important. Now, myself, I like the Pittsburgh Pirates to go over the 84.5. I look at this team the last 2 years. They've won 94 and 88 games, and I think a lot of people thought they would slide a little bit this past year, and that did not happen. They had a really strong ending. And the one thing that I like that Clint Hurdle does is that he's able to figure out a bullpen relatively quickly. And when that happens, this team really starts winning games. And that is particularly effective when they play against losing teams, because they have one of the top 4 records in baseball the last 2 years against losing teams. So they really pound up on that. Then the other thing, you look at their key players on offense, they're all in the prime of their careers. I think the Cubs are overrated in this case. I think Pittsburgh's has a really good chance to chase St. Louis again this year in the Central Division. So I like that team a lot. Now, what else you got for me, Ross, concerning maybe some teams that might go under this year?
Well, the only concern I have with the Pittsburgh Pirates is similar to the Detroit Tigers in the American League. Exactly the same. Over and under 84.5 wins. It just seems a little bit too easy to me. You're looking at a Pittsburgh team that qualified for the playoffs the last 2 years. Again, the books aren't convinced that Pittsburgh's for real, and neither am I. And the only other selection I'd like to share with the viewers is the San Diego Padres under 84.5 wins. Just because you spend a lot of money in the offseason doesn't guarantee you're going to have a winning season. I really question what their chemistry is going to be like. You got a lightning rod like Matt Kemp that you picked up in the offseason. I'm just not sure the Padres are going to be able to live up to the payroll that management has spent, Doug.
Yeah, I can certainly see your point, Ross, and I think the number is accurate as to where they are. So I think that plays a part into what's going to go on. So when you look at them, I mean, you have the Dodgers, and then the San Francisco Giants, who we know is a very good team. So that leaves then Arizona, Colorado. And so for my picks, I couldn't make up my mind, Ross, on this one. Last year, Arizona and Colorado both won under 70 games. This year, they're both listed as 71 and a half. I don't know what to do, kind of like a horse race, Ross. I'm going to put this as a dual entry. I don't think Arizona has many positives other than Paul Goldschmidt, okay, on offense. And I look at Colorado; they've made very few changes, and they must have bought, I should say, a box of rabbit's foots coming into the season because they're hoping that Troy Tulowitzki and Carlos Gonzalez are going to be off the disabled list for a large portion of the season. And to me, that's about as has about as good a chance as happening as Kanye West not offering opinion on a topic that he's asked about. So I think at least one, if not both of those teams will go under in that situation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the Arizona assessment. I'm not sold on Colorado completely at that low of a number. Again, you make an interesting point, though. The health of Troy Tulowitzki and Carlos Gonzalez will be the key. If those two could stay relatively healthy and not miss an extended period of time like they did a season ago, you got to think this team with that lineup is capable of winning anywhere from 47 to 50 games at home this year. Again, they've always been a terrible road club. I'm a little hesitant with Colorado. I'm on board with Arizona going under that number, Doug.
All right, now I got one more then for you, Ross. What do you think about the Atlanta Braves? I have them going under 73 and a half. Now, one of the big changes with this team is that they gutted the lineup. They got rid of Justin Upton, Jason Hayward, and Evan Gattis. And when I look at that, I understand why they did it because they only scored 3.5 runs per game with those guys. But I just don't see where you're going to get any other production, and I think you have a very similar situation. Now, I do like their pitching staff by and large. They got a lot of nice young arms, but I'm just not convinced that this team is just not going in the absolutely wrong direction. They changed everything around in the front office, trying to go back to yesteryear. And sometimes, like Thomas Wolfe said, you can't go home. So that being the case, I like this team to go under 73 and a half and put up their first consecutive losing seasons since 1989, 1990.
I do concur on that as well. I think this is an organization, unfortunately, that's going backwards. They have a rich tradition, but it's not going to be happening for them this season, Doug. I do agree with that assessment. I like them as well to go under that total.
Well, Ross, thank you for all your tremendous insights, and I'm glad that I could be a willing participant as well. And thanks to all the viewers here at Sportsbook Review.